Jumping straight into the build here. Back window seals are bad. Pretty sure the sides are too, as all the carpet, when I ripped it out, was full of water. Got damp rids here to help, because it still leaks pretty bad. But instead of resealing the windows, I'm just gonna weld them in, make it like a panel truck. Update you when I get the other one in. Alright, time for an update. It's been a few days and it's already rusted like mad. Got the windows welded in all the way around. I got caulking to cover the welds mostly, make it look a little bit more uniform. Other side. Behind the sliding door. Soon to be a different sliding door. This one's got a massive dent in it. Be changing that window out as well. I got these in, welded all the way around. No caulking on these yet. See, the paint's just peeling off from the heat. I had my gas cap covered. Plastic bag inside, screwed the cap over it, put tape down, and then I got this rag that was wet. Didn't have any issues. And if you're wondering what all these are, deciding to stiffen them up a little bit, just putting some flat stock every so often. Still haven't done that window yet. This one's done too. Got a lot of cleanup to do, but it's starting to come together. I mean, it doesn't leak anymore, so that's good. The metal on these windows is pretty thin, so adding the stiffener I think helped a lot. Here's before. This side doesn't have anything yet. You can imagine when this thing's playing, that's gonna be making all kind of noise. Way better. Way better. Next thing to tackle is this door arm. The track sticks out way too far, and I don't want it to build some weird shape to get around it. I'd like the wall to be as simple as possible, so I'm going to try to remake it. Well, that didn't go as planned. I had tried to do it with a sliding mechanism and a pivot so I could start it back further in and avoid that whole curve, but I failed, as you can see. So I got rid of that piece. There's only that much left that I got to cut off. I'm just going to avoid it entirely. Got the sides cleaned up a little and painted. Doesn't have to look too good, just so that it doesn't rust over time. So started on the roof. Got this curved piece following the contour of the roof, and then one piece jutting out back for support. I'm not sure now what I plan to do, whether I want to just go in between these, kind of like what I have here, or if I want to just have it be flush with the bottom and then run straight back and avoid all this. But we'll see. I'm just about done with the roof. I got 3 beams running the length of the vehicle, just about to the end, even though the wall will end somewhere around here. Got these middle pieces, one towards the back, one in the middle, roughly, and one up front on the curved piece that follows the contour of the van. In hindsight, my mistake here, I'll show you in a second, is instead of adding a second curved piece in the back here and screwing it to the bottom and making it flush like it is up front, I screwed it to the sheet metal in the roof, or the roof support, which of course has a curve. So I had to compensate for that by lowering these pieces so it's right about flat here. And It's slightly higher here, but still a little low. And of course up front is flush. I think once I put the piece of 3/4 over it, it should be okay regardless. I've added some more pieces in the middle to the roof. And I've also started getting the sides in so I can build the frame back from there. There's the driver's side. And here's the passenger side. And as you can see, I've already started making the seal. Got a piece of aluminum sheet metal. Already got the seat belt holes cut out, back installed. It is ugly. I hope I can make it look nice in the final product. But I don't think any air will get through that when it's done. B pillars are just about complete. Used a lot of adhesive. I don't want any air getting through this. Stacked up some 2x4s and a 2x6. Got these horizontal to help follow this contour, which was too steep for vertical pieces. Helps seal it off and also adds a lot of strength. I'll still seal this part, but I have to put a piece of PVC in there first so I can run some wires through it. Driver's side's pretty much the same thing. Already tested the seat belts on both sides and they fit, thankfully. I added some foam to the roof. Loctite foam was getting a little too expensive, so I just moved to Great Stuff. But Great Stuff definitely isn't as high of quality, but it's like less than half the price. So I just go with Great Stuff from here on out. And I used a lot of it. Also got the driver's side done. Almost. Roughly notched out, but it doesn't matter. It'll get covered with a piece of wood. It's kind of rough, but it's getting there. And you may be saying, no, you used the 2x4 the wrong way. But I want to make this box as big as I can. And it's against the metal in some places, and it's pretty darn strong. I don't think I'm going to have any issues with it. After a failed search of the junkyard, come up empty-handed, and I've decided to keep the old sliding door. So I added a metal window, just like with the other windows that I took out. Added caulking around it so it can't leak. And when I took the door off to do the welding, mostly removed the dent. Looks a lot better. And instead of welding the door on to make it permanent, I've decided to use caulking and a little bit of adhesive in the front for fear of the spray foam that's behind it. I would hate to have that catch fire. So I ran some straps over the vehicle and underneath and mostly filled the door seam with caulking. And in the front I added some PL, like the $9 a tube stuff, because this is where all the pressure is going to be when it's sealed up. Lost track of how many tubes I used, but I know it was a lot. But man, this thing looks ghetto. Passenger side frame is almost done. I had to build it in a few separate pieces because the sliding door support beam sticks out really far. And pretty much where the piece of the 2x4 is sitting is where the 3/4 will sit. Pretty much right on the metal. It's the same thing up here. This piece is only keeping them level so they can dry, or straight, I should say. Same thing with this one here at the bottom. And I'll probably add some more pieces in these larger gaps. And right where this is sitting will probably be 2 pieces just like it. And here's the passenger side with the pieces I said I was going to add. So you can see how it's going to look before I put the piece of wood over it. Here's how the floor is going to look. I decided to run my RCA and speaker wires underneath the wall, and they'll go in those tubes. And on this side I'll put my power wire, also on both wheel wells. I cut these off so I can fiberglass over them. So I added tubes to the driver's side like I did on the passenger side, but they were a bit too small for the wire runs that I wanted to do. And I'm having trouble getting these out. I used this. Apparently it's really good. The stuff is still wet in a lot of places, and it won't come off. I've used a crowbar, and one tube even shattered before coming out. Some good stuff. The main shell is almost complete. Here's those tubes on the passenger side running underneath the wall. Tubes on the driver's side that I just added to replace the old ones that I took out. The big one on the left sticks up above the floor, so I'll have to fiberglass over these. Still have to add that little section. But the driver's side, roof, and passenger side are all installed. You may be asking what all these holes are for. Well, I added foam to just about every panel, and I had to give it enough air to let it breathe and ventilate, because it does expand. Kind of learned that on the roof. I added too much, and after about a day or so, I drilled a vent hole to see if it was all cured, because I don't want any of this stuff to be uncured in the roof, because it's very flammable in that state. And it shot back out at the drill, covered my chuck. Thankfully it still works for the most part, but do be careful and make sure not to add too much. On the roof of the van, let's test and see how good the foam actually is. I've got a rubber mallet, going to drop it down under its own weight. Notice how the mallet bounces. A lot of the energy goes right back into the mallet. And up front, energy goes into the panel. It's pretty good. Sorry if I sound muffled, I'm still wearing my respirator after doing all this sanding. But just like that, after what feels like forever, I've coated the inside of the box with 1 layer of matte and several layers of resin in areas. The floor only has 1 layer of resin, but I'll probably add another one to help smooth it out and fill in any spots that didn't receive enough. Wheel wells are all covered up. Couple layers on those, very solid. Added some 45s. Covered this up. Same thing with this wheel well. Really strong. This thing hardly resonates when you hit it. Took me a lot longer than I thought it would, but I think it's worth it. Been working on the roof of the cabin now. Almost got this done. Started with a 2x4 in the center. Used a lot of adhesive and secured it on this end and screwed it to the front of the wall over here. Then I made this half and this half separate and screwed it into the center. Added a lot of foam and now it's up there. Not too bad either. Starting on the back of the box, doing it in sections so I could still get the baffles in through the rear doors later. Filling the gaps in with some chicken wire and resin. Added a 45 along the bottom. And if you're wondering why this side is larger than this side, it's because right around here was that door jamb for the sliding door, which pushed the wall in closer, and this side here is right against the metal, so it's further back. Here's the passenger side door to use as a comparison, and here's the driver's side. As you can see, a lot has changed. The panel is now entirely made of wood, and I started to mock up the speaker locations. Are those 10s or 12s? I guess you'll find out soon. I've spent a couple weeks on these so far, but I've got the driver and passenger side almost looking the same, pretty close. We're doing 2 mids and 2 horns, one at the top and one at the bottom. Added that piece because it was a little flat looking, and the tweeter being down there looked like an afterthought. It's time to go over these with some resin and mat and make these things permanent. These look horrible in their current state. What if I just left them like this? Would you guys say anything? Nah, I'm not gonna do that. Don't judge them yet, they're not done. The doors look good, but something's still missing. Gonna clean that up and get it ready to paint. Well, they're purple. Got the handle installed. Got a pad I made up. Little magnets. They don't really hold it on too good, but it's good enough. I think it looks pretty good. I believe it's been a little over 2 months since I've worked on the wall itself. I paid someone else to do my design. I'm not risking screwing this up. It's way too big of a project. So what you see here are some standoffs screwed into place. This is where the front of the actual box will go, and then the port will extend out past and seal off at the front up here. Gonna throw those pieces in now and then show you how it looks. Here it is, looking in on it from the front of the box. I had to do it in 2 sections because it's just too big and too awkward to get in here. Basically, it splices down the middle and connects like that. Same thing at the top. Like I said, the port will come out to the very front of the box and will get sealed off all the way around. A foot tall stack of cutouts can mean only one thing. I've got my baffles cut. I've got them placed where I think they should go to be even on both sides. Close enough anyways. I don't think it's going to matter that much because the sides are a bit different. The angles and whatnot vary a little bit. Moving along. Getting the back of the box all mocked up. Got these boards put in place so I can line up the screws when the two pieces are outside of the vehicle, so I can reassemble it and duplicate it for a second layer. I've added some bracing behind the baffles on both sides, 3 layers thick. Glassed in a few roundovers in the corners. Also added a big 45 up top. Gonna add another layer of resin to these because they only have 1 layer of mat over them currently. Here's the back of the box. Got it in 2 pieces. Joined together like that, so that I can separate it, put it in the vehicle, then reassemble it. Each chamber, of course, has its own ported section. Got them rounded over. Gonna throw it in soon. Behold, the back has been put in. Still have some gaps to fill, of course. Cutting out this shape perfectly would be quite the challenge. But it is in. Starting to look like a box now. Getting pretty exciting. I'm currently working inside the box. As you can see, this section here and this section here are much thicker than this and this. So on the thinner spots, I've added a dowel rod, top and bottom. Of course, the same thing on both sides. I've also glassed in another roundover in the back. As usual, both sides. And I started adding some 45s in the cabin. Just some small ones. Don't need much. I also added a really big one here at the bottom. I'll be adding 2 more. One here and one here. And a V-shaped piece along the middle so that the airflow doesn't get stuck and it can go one way or the other. Currently inside the box as it's raining outside. As you can see, added some 45s in the smaller chambers on both sides. Glassed in a bit of a roundover over the wheel wells. And got the big 45s put in place in the back of the box, along with this piece. I'm not really sure what this is called, but you get the idea. Air goes in and it splits it between one port and the other port. Also, I've been doing a lot of sanding in here. Screw holes are all filled. It's coming together. Just have to put the back ports in, then put the front port in, paint it, and I think it'll be done. And here's how the rear ports look. Added some 2x4s, not really 2x4, 2x3 in between just to stiffen up the back. Yeah, you can see how these go. They're very different. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this before. But they're in. Here's how they look from inside the box. And if I crawl out, take a look at that. Got the front port put in. And you can see there's a lot of dead space around the port. This will all get sealed off with trim panels, which will make the wall actually look like a wall. At long last, we'll be at that point. Adding this piece over top of the ports, it'll form a shelf and allow me to mount my amps to something. Who put that wall there? Just got the panels dry fit for now. Man, starting to look really good. In the process of painting the box, going with white and purple, because the doors are purple, so I might as well stick with that. Drilled my holes for my bolts to go through that my speaker wires will attach to. Got 32 total. Not painting the floor yet because I'll just scuff it up with me getting in and out constantly. I'll probably paint it after I load the subs in the box. Cleaned up the back and added a few things. Added this shelf where my battery will sit and all my wires will run on top, and I'll have some storage underneath. Drilled some holes for the sheet metal and ran some of these plastic drain pipes, one on each side, and caulked around them. These will become my intake and exhaust fans to help keep the amps cool. No hate on Sound Cubed, but promo bundle in box. Right, now I bought 8 of these, 18's. And that's all they gave me. A couple extra stickers, 2 drink koozies, and a lanyard. No hat, no t-shirt. Oh well. Finally loading the subs into the wall. Top one pretty close to the back, but it fits. Bottom one's got much more space. Got my wires all tidied up. Looking nice. Did some more work on the back. This is where the battery will go. Trimmed these, now you can see. One will be pulling air, one will be pushing air. Here's how the amps are going to sit. It's going to be a 5K, 5K, 3K, and 1K. So that'll be for the highs, mids, and then the subs. Almost time to put the battery in. I've spared you the expense of having to watch me put in every single wire. Batteries in, all wired up. Both 5Ks, 3K, and the 1K. Of course, we have the horns, 12-inch mids, 8 18s. All the grounds come down to this distribution block. And on the block itself, it has a frame and a chassis ground. And to the battery has a frame and a chassis. And the alternator grounds. There's 5 4-aught grounds. And then 3 little jumpers. Well, little. And then they all come up to the amps. Power runs come down. All fused up. Runs from the front, from the alternator, have a separate fuse, then go to the front. The fans turned out to be not as good as I thought. Maybe the fans are just defective because they're really weak. Where the 3-inch fan is actually more powerful than the 4. Not sure why. Got all the wires coming out the back of the box so I can wire whatever I want without having to go into the box itself. Of course, I have all my RCAs. from the little splitter box. And then the other ones just go behind this. Kind of messy back there, but is what it is. Put in my 390 amp alternator from US Alts. Single 4-aught charging run. Goes to my fuse block. From the fuse block, 2 runs through the firewall, front to back. What could this rat's nest possibly be? Got my relay panel wired up. Got the head unit wired up. My voltage regulator for the alternator I put in when I hit the kill switch. Everything starts up. Head unit was already on. Got a variety of buttons to control everything. Still have to build a center console, but it's ready to play. Let's hear it.